I said on my last PBS special that why do you drive the speed limit? Do you drive the speed limit because you want to keep your neighbors safe and you want to keep yourself and your family safe and this is your expression of love for yourself and your fellow human beings? Why are you laughing? Because we all know that's bullshit, don't we? Yeah. But it shouldn't be. Or do you drive the speed limit because you're afraid that if you don't, you'll get a ticket. You'll have to pay the fear. It doesn't sound like much, but multiply it by 1,000 times a day and 1,000 days and a few decades of life, and you've got what is the cause of...
Yeah, cancer. I realized I wasn't living my own life. I didn't know whose life I was living because every choice I made, every decision I'd made up to that point was based on fear.
And when I got cancer, when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was, even though I didn't walk around saying, oh, I'm going to die, I've got leukemia, I'm afraid of that, it wasn't like that at all. But the word leukemia, when you hang it, there's this subconscious sort of programming that goes into us, and when it was removed, everything in my life changed. And when I talked earlier about excitement, the things that excite you, now, and Anita was saying today, we're going to do a seminar together on putting these two ideas together of the impersonal life, because there really is this thing that we carry around with us is, it's not personal. It's impersonal. We have to get rid of our personality and recognize that this consciousness is in every single one of us. Wasn't that one of your discoveries when you were in that state?
Absolutely. That when he says, I am God, I understand completely what he's talking about, because it was the realization that there's no separation between God and me. God isn't a separate entity out there. When I was not in my body, when I was no longer in my body, I was aware that my physical body was just this small thing lying there on the hospital bed dying, but I still existed. But I didn't have my body, my race, my culture, my gender, my beliefs. All of that was left behind. All of that was part of physical life. All I was this pure essence. And this pure essence, it felt like all I was just pure love, pure God, pure consciousness. We can call it any of those things. But it was that realization that saved my life, that realization there's no separation.
What role did fear play in your developing this cancer? And what role do you think it plays in our world today?
It's a huge role. I think all of us are brought up on a huge diet of fear. I feared everything. I feared being myself. I was a people pleaser. I was always putting myself last. Everything I did was out of fear. Even if I ate healthy foods, it was because I feared getting cancer, not because I loved myself or my life or I valued myself and wanted to be healthy. Even the kind of work I chose, everything I did was because I feared the consequences if I didn't do that. So even going and choosing a job that paid enough money to pay the bills, it was because I feared if I didn't do this, I wouldn't have enough money, not because I loved that job. My biggest discovery was that, in fact, that life doesn't happen to me. In other words, I'm not a victim of life. Life happens through me. And in fact, we just have to allow life to be lived through us, because that consciousness that exists in you, in me, in Wayne, in all of us, it's the same consciousness that is expressing itself through all of us. And in fact, the ego I, the person who we think we are, actually gets in the way. And we get in the way and we fight against it.
Be still and know that I am, that's the name of God, God. Now, who is the I am when you say those words? If you get rid of your personality, the person that you are, meaning everything that is associated with you as a physical being, just get rid of that and recognize that that invisibleness within you is capable of taking a person on death's doorstep. I mean, you have to see the pictures.
I'll show them during my workshop.
Right. I mean, she really was dead. That's, and came back, and the interesting thing is, once you saw yourself healed in that state that you were in.
Oh, in fact, as soon as I came back, as soon as I started to wake up from the coma, although my body was still totally weak and connected to tubes and couldn't walk, and I was breathing with oxygen and all that, but I knew I was already healed and that my body just had to catch up. And within 5 weeks, they could find no trace of cancer in my body.